Very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome back to my channel, which is Royal Bangalore Food, and this is your host Paul. Thanks for sticking by. I really appreciate it. Watching my videos and not commenting. That will not do good. Today we're going to look at it. Very simple question: can or why Indian fast food is not able to produce as similar to McDonald's? Very three important basic points we're going to discuss and understand how it can be better than McDonald's. There are so many food culturals. Can we do it? The question is, and the answer is yes, we can do it. It's just that we have to identify these three important points, and then probably everything can come in a very nice concoction and create a very global food chain which can sustain the brand value, inventory. We can actually standardize it. We can go ahead offer the best hygiene solutions. Predominantly, India has never been a food prone capital, right? So even though we see a lot of brands and many brands across it, but there is none who could go ahead and develop on the global chain. But there are two brands which has gone ahead and global, which is Rebel Foods and your there's another brand. Recently we could talk about Rameshwaram Cafe. But the question lies here is, can India go ahead and produce a McDonald's kind of chain? Yes, they can. Three great points quickly, and to understand what are the importance and the basics facts of it. Stick on, stay by, and if you made it to the deep end, I'd appreciate to go ahead and like and subscribe and share as much as possible these informations and leave your comments below. That makes a world to me. I mean, I can go ahead and create many such videos, understanding how to create a brand value in terms of food chain is concerned. Cheers. The very first point is that you need to understand we need to have a centralized and a standardization in the Indian fast food is concerned. Now, unlike we spoke in the previous videos, that we have seen India is a multicultural diversifications of amazing, fantastic varieties of foods from breakfast, lunch, dinner. Fun fact: Kerala has around 148 dishes of only breakfast item, which consist of vegan, vegetarian, and predominantly non-vegetarian. Even in the morning, specifically at my place, is only appam and stew with red meat or mutton or chicken. Sometimes with the seafood because it goes really well with tapioca or so-called the kappa that we call it as with fish curry, right? So it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and create. But then, can we create the standardization? Can we make it centralized option is a question to ask for. Quickly to divulge, to understand, to divide those informations. What is centralized kitchen? Centralized is basically a model where you set up one particular location and then you cook according to the standardization that you have done based on your recipe. So immense of research and development is required from your chef, from the team, even from the owner or so-called the startup, the founder, who is really hell bent to create a brand value in terms of the food is concerned, right? So that is first thing. The first thing is that you have to identify a centralized place where you get the inventory organized based on some unique selling propositions. You should have some kind of IP. If you're doing biryani, as I said, you need to understand about your rice, your meat, certain spices, or certain that secret unique pinch of taste of some kind of amazing spices that can create the wow factor. So it can be done in India. It's just that people have not leveraged exactly the proportion how McDonald's have done it. What McDonald's have done when they've started off, it's very clear. It was the vision was to go ahead and dish out the food as fast as possible. Now, can we do it in India? Yes and also no, because if you look at basic like idli and dosa, the batter is completely different. It always needs to be churned fresh. I'm not saying that McDonald's is highly processed, but then in terms of their bread and their patties is concerned, or so-called their burgers are concerned, the burger patties, it's always been done ready, just that thawed and immediately dished out. So can we do it in the context of idli and dosas? Yes, it can be done. It'll be in fact perfectly well. But the problem here is with Indians is that you like to have your idlis and dosas in a different context, different style. Because if you look at the Tamil Nadu, idlis and dosas are far different than what you get it in Bangalore or probably in Andhra or even for the matter of fact in Kerala. It's the same recipe, but then the water, the differentiation of adding quantity all varies a lot. But if you wanted to serve as a brand, the idea is to serve as a brand, you have to have a centralized kitchen, making sure that the food is absolutely standardized to the to the spick and span of every ounce of that each and every ingredients. Can that be done? Yes, it can be done. It is not a rocket science. It's just that people have not done it and the very brand value is concerned. Today, Idli, Vada, Dosa sells across the globe, across India. It's just that nobody has done a brand over it. Now, we see two brands which is coming forward currently as we speak. One is Rameshwaram Cafe, and another one is that we already have MTR, a lot of Udupi Bhavans. Udupi Bhavans have scattered all over, but predominantly one particular joint doesn't have more than 100 locations or 100 joints or 100 food centers or so on and so forth. Because as I said, the problem is that many people have not gone ahead and leveraged the importance of standardization in terms of hygiene, quality, and not probably really understood in terms of the centralized kitchen operations values. Now that is when you see great brands like Rebel Foods, like they've done Behrouz Biryani, they've done their rolls well. If you have Biryani by Kilo, they've done biryanis very well. So there are fantastic opportunity that you can go and create. So the question lies here: can that be centralized? Can it be standardized in Indian fast food? Yes, it can be, because idli dosa comes in that bracket of fast food to dish out as soon as possible. Now look at Asha Tiffins, Arogya, Ahar. These guys have gone ahead and done the right app. Within 10 minutes, your idli dosa is always ready and kept ready, because they know what's happening, how is it going to go. They can actually predict in terms of what sales could happen. So these are the important points that you have to keep in mind. Centralized and standardization is the first point. The second most important point here is about food science. I mean, it's a very two greatest point ever that you have to come together. Two word, food science. Today in Indian context, we are in a tropical climate, okay? So we have Kerala. I'm predominantly talking about South because I come from South, South of the God's own country. We have the best Tamil Nadu. We have the greatest cuisine, Andhra style, and we have immense cuisines from from Karnataka, the place I am from, right? So if you look at the Kurgi, the Mangi, the Shettis, the rice, your Brahmin cuisines, your Batkali cuisines, your the Budugas, the Ooty cuisines, everything is in dynamic, absolutely culturally driven, fantastic recipes. It is just that you have to get it done. And specifically, I'm a huge fan and diehard eating of the coastal cuisines, specifically coming from from Bombay till all the way to Kerala, even similarly from Orissa till Tamil Nadu. Important things I'm talking about here, food science is all about is, see, McDonald's have done the food science right. Now, why food science? As a matter of fact, they've kept the menu short. When you keep the menu short, you're able to diversify in terms of how ingredients have been purchased, what it has to do, what are the temperature driven, because everything is temperature driven in the entire world cuisine is concerned. It's just that the Indians do not have, I would not say the knowledge, but it's just that they do not trust. I mean, the small example is an anecdote I would like to say. Back then, a lot of chefs or so-called the master cooks would not share the recipe to just a moment. So like I was saying, the master cook would not go ahead and share the recipe because they just wanted to keep it hidden, and they would not like to share what goes inside to make the best idlis and dosas. Having said that, what is food science in McDonald's context? As I mentioned earlier, it's also about standardization, temperature driven. Even their French fries is cut in certain dimension from certain potatoes, which comes they have grown organically from their point of view, and they have the authenticity and some kind of science which goes behind to keep the French fries really fresh. And they would always use either the soya oil or vegetable oil to go ahead and create these wonders. Now, in contrary to Indian fast food is concerned, let's take an example of dosa. Dosa is a labor intensive work. Still now, we have not seen anywhere in India where a machine could come and lay that dosa in a certain standard, in certain the crisp level of it, in terms of what temperature it has to cook. Because dosa is an intensive, it's a completely labor intensive, food that you have to dish out. First of all, you have to use, a stone. For the matter of fact, you can always use SS304, but then ideally speaking, there is a traditional way which goes inside by using the coconut, the what do you call, the broom, which I mean, which can actually, make sure that you even it out because of it has a little bit of oil consistency, and then you throw that water, and then you go ahead and swirl that lovely circle, and then it crisps out. Then you pour your fat, whatever is required, ghee or an oil, and then you roll it up and then give. So there's a labor intensive work. Having said that, on contrary to McDonald's, yes, they also have a similar context in terms of the patties is concerned, right? You have to press it down. It comes with certain flavors that you have to go at spice level at certain temperature. It cooks and then you dish it out. The idea is that you have to figure it out in terms of some kind of Indian fast food can actually go well. So, for example, you have vada paos, you have any kind of chaat for the matter of fact. Idli dosa itself is a great opportunity. It's just that you have to identify a very good kitchen equipment can actually go ahead and do this make it absolutely no human interference, so that it can do controlling temperature. It can actually lay informations in terms of the fat and probably have the condiments ready and then dish it out. So in terms of Indian fast food is concerned, many people actually back out only because of it's a labor intensive, wherein you have to source everywhere the same guy to go ahead and do so. Because just in case if he's not able to get it right, then there is absolutely, you'll not able to achieve the standardization. So the second important point is that about food science. Now, another example, not example, is a fact what McDonald's happened when India had invited FDI, the Foreign Development Investment in 1997. McDonald's and KFC really they came running to India, and what they've done is that Indian government had put a restriction for the McDonald's big giant, saying that you wouldn't procure your potatoes from your wherever you're procuring from. Rather, you will help the farmers in India, train them how to organically grow in terms of the season is concerned, how to utilize in terms of the entire land space is concerned, what water to use, not to make use of waste of water, and then create a potato which is literally long grown and then use that French fry. So what happens? They did that, economic boom. The farmers were really helpful. They could understand what food science is all about, and then eventually McDonald's bought those potatoes. So that's a great, a give and take policy which we have to follow. Similarly, we have to identify certain IP of spices or certain, let's say, the urad dal or the rice which comes in. You have to standardize it. So these are the two differences when it comes to food science. It's just that Indian food brands have to evolve and do a lot of research and development to come into matter of fact to create a wonderful food chain. And the third most important point, which can be a great business point of view for a startup, if you're really looking at lovely ideas, this is what I really want to do. It's called the on the go menu, right? Now, India predominantly was always a sleeping city, wherein women predominantly didn't work. But look at what it did to the economy when you make a women work and women educate. So it adds the value of the GDP and per capita income, even for the family's point of view. When you have an educated women, the whole family gets educated. In terms of Indian context is concerned, how did McDonald's leverage it? See, today you have to understand putting a food chain or a on-the-go food chain, it does really matter a lot. Look at Japan, look at China, look at European context. Germany is concerned. They have this absolutely hot dog, hot wurst, what we call it as. They've done excellently well. You can just grab on the go and do it. So India, as predominantly right now we speak, all the metros, yesterday I got to know that, the Silicon Valley hub will also be created in West Bengal. So it's a great asset. So we have Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Kochi, Trivandrum, Pune, Bombay, all these places are filled, Gurgaon, even for the matter of fact, Indore, these are the places where a lot of startups hub really grew and they grow, right? The spend is all is born. So similarly, when it comes to on the go, when you have such kind of amazing ideas for the food, you can create a value chain of food or develop a food menu which can do an on the go. There are many food items, right, on the go, because sometimes you need not to have, for example, look at the parathas. The best example. It is just a roll. You can actually roll it up and then go on the go. But will it sustain in terms of food science is concerned? That you have to figure it out, because the shelf life of that is hardly around 3-4 hours. Otherwise, it becomes really tough. Or you have to figure it out to make sure that it keeps you warm. And when you eat and on the go, you can just dispose that any way that it happens. And you're filled with your breakfast and you get going. So on the go as a developer, a food startup idea is the greatest asset that India could leverage, specifically in this dynamic environment that we live in, wherein the women and the men are really on the hurry to work, specifically when it comes to Bangalore. Man, it's a great thing that you drive and you eat. You don't find vending machines, you don't find petrol bunk servings any kind of food. It's never been a situation where people have found out, or rather, innovate or invent such kind of on the go food. So that's a great asset. So third important point is that India has to leverage in terms of new technology, in terms of kitchen equipment, in terms of food equipment, leverage food science, make sure that you use a food technology and making sure that you create an on the go food. It's the greatest value that you can ever do. And to come in context with McDonald's, by thus these three basic points actually can India can build a greatest food value chain and then become a global brand is concerned. Now, there are many on the go food I would not like to discuss. As I said, if you really want to know more about it, please go ahead and comments. And I will have a look at this question. I can throw some lovely ideas which I already have when it comes to biryanis, when it comes to dehydrated food. Authenticity in terms of you want. Zomato did it, so it takes 4 5 days from UP to go ahead and get that tunde kebab. But if you want to create tunde kebab in Bangalore, it can be done through a fast food chain, and you keep it because Pakistan is doing it, Sri Lanka is doing it, Bangladesh is doing it excellently well. It's just that still today India is not able to find a good kebab making machine or a food a kitchen equipment to an automized level through a software driven, through a SaaS platform to go ahead and do an on the go. Cannot be done. So that's the greatest problems that we have, issues to create, a lot of challenges, but all this thing can be solved provided you put your heads down and understand what is the on the go food, and then create a wonderful business idea and become a brand or possible of it. So these are three important points: standardizations, making centralized kitchen, making sure that you use a food science, and also identify on the go food items that you can create a fantastic food brand in India, specifically starting from a lot of metros in Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, wherever you are in India. That can be a greatest point to go ahead and kickstart. So with that in mind, I really appreciate. Thanks for sticking by. This is Paul signing off. Take care. Cheers.